What would you do? You've applied for a visa to travel to the United States. You've got all your documents in order. You step up to the window. The officer asks you one, two questions, and then hands you a letter and says that you've been refused the visa. Hi, I'm Charity, one of the former visa officers working with Udeti, and I'm here today to help you understand a little bit about why these types of interviews happen and how you can best prepare if you're going to have just those one, two questions. What the most important thing I want you to take away from our time is to understand that a small mistake, right? Things that you might be able to prepare for could stand in the way, but we're going to give you the information so that they don't get in the way of your dream of traveling or studying to be in the United States. Visa applications get denied for a variety of reasons. And officers don't tell you exactly why they've been refused. They usually give you a letter and it's got some very generic language on it. It's actually a form letter. They write your name on it and that's it, right? And a lot of times when people have been refused, they go home and they start thinking about the questions that were asked and what they answered, but they don't really understand what went wrong for them. So let's talk first a little bit about what happens before you step up to the visa window. As a visa officer, there's an automated system. We're logged into a variety of sort of databases and software, and there's an automated system that calls the next applicant forward. But before you get called forward, the officer opens up your case file, and that has a variety of documents in it, including the application form that you filled out, that DS-160 form. The officer is going to scan that application form. They're looking for a variety of pieces of information there: why you want to travel, where you're planning to go, have you traveled before, are you traveling with anyone, things like that. If you've uploaded any additional documentation, for example, if you're a student, they may look at the SEVIS form to make sure that everything sort of syncs up and matches. And so when you come up to the window, the officer already usually has in their mind certain pieces of information that they're looking for, and their questions are going to guide that. Now, the reason that in some cases they only ask a couple of questions is, one, they've taken quite a bit of information from your forms, but the other is that officers are often sort of applying their understanding of your country and people your age and your situation and what's kind of normal in that area. So, for example, if you come from a place where it is very uncommon for young unmarried adults, like things like, in their early 20s, to travel internationally by themselves on holiday, and you show up and are applying to go to the United States for 2 weeks by yourself to New York City just to go see the sights, that doesn't mean that that's not what you're going to do. But the officer is going to apply their experience and knowledge of what they've seen and think, that seems a little unusual here. They might be asking about a little more in detail about why you in particular are doing that. Now, what I've described here so far has really been about the officer and how they think and how they prepare. And there's nothing that you can do to change that on how that officer is going to view, take a look at your case. But what you can do is focus on the things that you can control. And those are two very important things. The first is your application and the documentation. And then the second is how you prepare for your interview. Now, a very common problem is either inconsistent or incomplete documentation. So that DS-160 form, other types of information that may be either uploaded along with your DS-160 form or that you bring with you, such as travel plans, such as bank statements, or perhaps your school records or things like that, depending on the type of visa. If there is inconsistencies between maybe what you've written on your DS-160 form and what you tell the officer at the window, or what those forms say versus what you're talking about at the window, that's going to raise some red flags for the officer, as can incomplete information. And this really goes to preparation as well. If you are traveling to the United States, the officer is going to assume that you've done a little bit of thinking about what you're going to do when you get to the US and how you're going to get there, right? So that's why the form asks about where you plan to go, where you plan to stay, who might be traveling with you, things like that. They would expect you to know that as well as being able to talk about how you're going to pay for your travel, how long you're going to be there, and things like that. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to be able to give, super detailed information about the company you're going to rent a car from, but you should be able to talk about in some specifics, right? And officers will often zero in or target questions on that to get a sense of whether you really have thought about what your plans are. And that, again, goes to some of the other piece of preparation, which is anticipating questions that you might be asked and being prepared to answer them. And of course, that's easy to do if you're sitting at home at your kitchen table talking with your friends or your family about what your plans are. It can be really scary when you're standing at a visa window. Even if you've done it before, it can be intimidating. And a lot of folks get shy. And when we're nervous or we're shy, that we tend not to look a person in the eye. We tend to speak a little slower. If you are trying to speak in English and that's not your primary language, then it can really make it difficult. Trust me, I know when I get nervous, it's very hard for me sometimes to speak in other languages. And so all of those things, the officer is listening for particular pieces of information. And if they're not getting it from you because you're unable to share it with them, then they don't have anything to base their approval on. And then if they can't approve it, then they're going to refuse it. So a great practice is to think about common questions, like the things that I've talked about here. Where are you going? Why are you going there? Are you traveling with anybody? Have you traveled elsewhere before outside of your home country? What kind of work do you do? Are you married? What is your family situation? Things like that. Basically, those things that are all listed on your DS-160 form. And practice being able to talk about them directly, confidently, and in your own voice, right? So practice it with somebody maybe who's a little stern and won't let you, they won't just smile and go, oh, it sounds good. No, they're going to tell you, try again. Practice, practice, practice until you feel so comfortable being prepared to answer those questions that you're able to do it with a clear voice. You're able to stand up straight, maybe even smile a little bit. I know it can be intimidating and hard to smile, but confidence really helps in these interviews. And that is absolutely something that you can control in terms of being able to practice. Correcting these two things, making sure that there aren't inconsistencies or incomplete information either in the documents that you bring or the information that you share in the interview, and preparing yourself for what you're going to encounter when you go there. They can go a really long way in improving your chances of getting your visa approved. I have both when I was doing work as a consular officer, visa officer, as well as in my current work with Udeti, I have worked with a lot of people and spoken with so many people who were not successful 1, 2, sometimes even 3 times applying. But then with the right preparation, they were able to go in and have a great interview and successfully secure their visa. Attention to detail and preparation are your best tools. And to be honest, those couple of questions, it can seem like, wow, that was so little. But you know what? The folks who were issued also probably only got a couple of questions. So the officers are listening for particular information. Your job is to be sure that you can give them what they're listening for. So have you or someone you know faced a visa denial? They're super common. Please go down into the comment section below, share your story, or you can ask your questions. We would love to hear from people like you. It is so engaging for me personally, being on this side of it, working with applicants, people who want to travel instead of just being the person on the other side of the glass. We offer lots of insider tips and strategies for navigating the U.S. visa process, including overcoming visa refusals. So for more tips and strategies, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We're constantly putting out new videos, some that are really sort of general about things like this, but others that can be specific to particular types of visas, like for students, or people who are traveling for business purposes, as well as for particular parts of the world or even specific countries. And so check out our additional videos. We have lots of detailed advice out there. And then if you are interested, we also offer one-on-one consulting services that you can reach out to us at hello@udetivisa.com and get more information. And then we can explore your specific situation and help you feel confident and fully prepared to go in and get your visa. So thanks for joining me today. I hope this has been really helpful, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.